I was faced with a choice which I never should have had.
She was crying like I had never heard a woman cry before in my life.
And I just cried for weeks and weeks. Everything reminded me of a baby.
And I kept trying to get up from the table and look to see what was in that jar.
I was dealing with the loss of my unborn child and I didn't even know it.
I believe that my life was spared that night just so that I could be here right now and say abortion hurts women.
Whisper, be silent no more.
Welcome to Faces of Abortion. I'm your host, Cindy Collins, and I have my co-host with me, Lisa Dudley, Director of Outreach for Operation Outcry. Welcome, Lisa.
Thanks for having me, Cindy.
We have an amazing show today. I know Teresa telling her story in her own words, and then Kelly and Joe are going to go ahead and tell about abortion and how abortion affected Kelly and how the Lord used Joe to bring healing into their marriage and healing with Kelly.
Yes, I know it's going to be a very powerful show today.
It will be a powerful show, and we want you to be with us as now we go ahead and listen to Teresa's story in her own words.
Hi, my name is Teresa and I'm from Davenport, Iowa, and I'm here today to tell you about a secret that I thought I was going to take to my grave. When I was 17 years old, I found myself to be pregnant, and growing up, I grew up very old-fashioned way. We couldn't even talk about anything that had to do with sex. In fact, when I started my menstrual cycle, I bled through my clothes and I hid my clothes in the back of the closet. And growing up, sex was a bad thing and we just weren't supposed to do it. So I found myself at 17 pregnant and thought that I couldn't tell my parents that there wasn't anybody that I could go to. And I pretty much didn't even give my boyfriend a chance. I just told him that I did not have any other choice. So when I made the call to the abortion clinic, I just answered a few questions and they told me how much it cost. And I remembered him driving me there. And on the way there, I was so sick, I felt like I was going to throw up the whole time. And being there, I remember having the ultrasound, and I was asking questions they would not let me see, and I wanted to see. And then I just remember the procedure and the doctor coming in. I don't even remember him introducing himself, and he just did the procedure, and I just remember crying. I remember the pain. I remember the noise. And then being ushered into a room where there were other girls sitting there and like these recliners, and I was just sitting in there crying. And nobody else in there seemed to care. And they just brought the juice and cookies, and the only instruction was to stop and get a bite to eat. So we left and did go to a fast food restaurant, and I was just sitting there crying, and I couldn't even really eat. And on the way home, my boyfriend wanted to drive us into a brick wall and kill us for what we had done. So I knew he was hurting too. When we got home, he tried to commit suicide, and I just remember yelling at him to stop. And he did. And then after that, when we were being intimate, I could just remember seeing the doctor's face, and it was very difficult. Shortly after that, we actually did get married, and we did actually shortly after that then get pregnant again and carried that baby to term, and I have a 19-year-old to this day. And I could never forgive myself and thought I would never tell anybody, and I only had shared with my little sister what I had done. And but I came to the point where I was severely depressed to where I was medicated, and I didn't care who told me they loved me or how much, that it didn't matter. So I was taking the medication, and then I came to know the Lord in January of 1999. And dedicated my life to the Lord and stopped cold turkey taking the medication, and apparently you're not supposed to do that, but nothing happened. I knew that God had forgiven me, but I still was not able to forgive myself. A couple of years later, I was able to forgive myself, and it wasn't until like 3 years ago when I saw a video at church in a youth group, and they were showing a video of abortions, of aborted babies, and I just wanted to scream, stop. And no, and watching that, it was the first time I was able to mourn the loss of my baby from 19 years ago. It was like I was watching my baby on the big screen. And I thought, That was my baby. And it was at that time where I mourned for 2 weeks. I just kept crying and just had a very difficult time. And I do have a memorial for her. Her name is Amber Lee, and her plaque reads, "You have a little brother." And I had spoken out at a youth event at a church, and I knew that I had to tell my son. And his way of coping was he had written a poem, and it said, "I never knew, that I never knew you existed. And I can't believe what her mom had done, and I can't believe your life never begun, but that I love you." And I was so moved by that, knowing that as a young boy, that he, a young man, that he was, it affected him. So I'm here to tell you that it does affect not only you, it can damage you, it can hurt you. You can make choices and decisions that you would never make before because of that choice that was made. And I don't understand if it's such a choice, and if this is a freedom that we have, why do we keep it secret? There should not be any shame with this if it's something that we can do. But it really should not be our choice. It's not up to us to decide whether we should take life or give life. It's up to God. But I'm here to tell you that God does forgive, and He can forgive you, and He loves you. So if you've done that, if you know of somebody who's done that, or if you're contemplating it, my prayer to you would be to choose life, not to make that same choice that I made all those years ago. I've since then told my family, and the hardest thing, I would have rather told everybody on the whole earth than tell my parents. But I have told my parents, and there is freedom in that. And every time I give my testimony, there's freedom in that. They forgave me. They were crying with me and apologized for being so hard on us, that I would, not have been able to go and talk to them. And there are people here that care about you and love you, and they're here to help you and guide you to make that choice and to give life, and that you can give it up for adoption. I never saw it as a baby. It's not just a blob of tissue. Its own blood was coursing through its veins as the life was taken from that child. And I'm just asking today that you just give yourself to God and just ask for that forgiveness that is there for you too. And just to choose life for that baby. It is a baby, and it's not your choice. Thank you.
You've just listened to Teresa's story about the impact of abortion, not only on Teresa, but also the father of her baby, her boyfriend, who then became her husband, where he had even thought about taking the car and going through a brick wall because of the effect of the abortion on their lives. Possibly that's you. You feel that the abortion has caused even a brick wall in your life. There is somebody that you can talk to on the other end of a telephone line at the National Helpline for Abortion Recovery. It's a toll-free number, 1-866-482-LIFE. And there's a woman there who has had an abortion. She will want to listen to you, hear what you have to say, pray with you, and offer resources and places for you to go where you can receive help. I know, Lisa, as we were listening to Teresa's story, again, we have heard so many of these stories of how women were not told the truth, yet they were left with the pain and the trauma that abortion causes.
Absolutely, just hundreds of women and men with these stories. I know as I listened to her story, I could relate to my own experience in so many ways, and I know as others are going to hear her story, they're going to feel the same way. And there's just so much pain associated with abortion.